Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where I think we can go ahead and get rid of all of this. It was an interesting experiment and it was yielding some results, but I was having to do way too... Actually, I'm not going to get rid of it yet because we have calculated some of these rotational things. Yeah, we might end up doing something a little bit different, but it might be a good starting point. So here, after we've determined what type of road we want, let's determine the rotation. That'll be exciting, won't it? Nope. I did not press Control, I just pressed C. That does not work for copying. Okay, so we need to determine the rotation for all of these. Now, I think the easiest rotation will be the straight roads, because there can be, what, 3 rotations that it can have? So let's go ahead and use the subhexes for right now. So a straight road can be going this direction, or this direction. So essentially, we need to be determining a couple of things. First, let's go ahead and do the straight up and down. So if the x value of both of the neighbors are the same as ours, then that's good. So, if, and I think I already did this, if previous position.x equals, yeah, so we can just copy this in, actually, and we don't need to set our road prefab. There we go. So if it's straight up and down, it should properly rotate now. Let's find out. Well, we don't have any straight up and downs there. And it isn't regenerating. Gotta love that bug. Okay, none of these are straight up and downs. I'm not sure why sometimes it just stops generating them like that. And then we have to zoom out and back in. But that's a bug we'll sort out later. But all of these are pretty much always going to be going this way. I think what we need to be doing to be testing this is change this from spawning only road 0 to spawning only road 1. Because that one will be more vertical. That way we'll be able to see our straightaway rotations. Theoretically, anyway. Argument out of range exception instantly. Okay, what are we assuming? Subhex manager line 205. Oh, we're assuming we're 0 indexed. Right. That's obnoxious. Okay, we'll just assume it works for right now. It should work. So the next thing we need to do is we need to say... We need to figure out what direction we're going here. So we can basically just copy this in and paste this in right here. Except I'm going to make this be an else if, and then an else, and get rid of this entirely. We don't need to set this. We don't need to do this. So theoretically, if next position.z, or rather, if previous position.z is greater than subhexes... Okay, hang on. This isn't necessarily going to work as is. This will need some work, and let's hop in here to show exactly why. Come on, there we go. So, it's not going to work 100% of the time. As you can see here, it is actually working here, by and large. So, yeah, you can see here, that's interesting, this one should be straight up and down. So I guess that isn't working. But actually, this is working, and this is working. So it does seem to be just working out of the box. This is not working, though. And I'm not 100% certain why. It could be... Well, let's investigate here. Let's see if we can get another one of those. Yeah, here we go. This is more like it. So going this direction is clearly working. Going vertically is clearly not working. And we see that going this direction, I think, is working. So why is going vertically not working? Let's take a look here. let's hop into our sub-subhexes, and let's take a look at this hex right here. More specifically, let's take a look at this road. This road is at 0, 0, 0, which tells me something intriguing, and that something intriguing is that this X position is not equaling this X position, because the rotation is 0 rather than 0, 60, 0. I mean, realistically, we probably don't technically even need this, because I think we already have it at vector 3.0. So yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of that. And then this is working, this is not. So if previous position.x equals subhexes.transform.position.x. Okay, local position would not equal. Yeah, local position would not equal, but we're in regular transform.position, so that should equal. I think we ran into this problem before, actually. The Z is working nicely. So let's check our previous position. Transform position, so the position of the transform in world space. That should be fine. Subhexes I dot... Subhexes I is indeed our current hex, correct? Yes, indeed. Okay. .transform.position.x, .transform.position.x, just checking to make sure I have the correct variable in all of these locations. Apparently we do. Because this should be completely fine. But it does not appear to be completely fine in the slightest. Because this clearly returns false when it's clearly true. Now in local space, this is along the z-axis. Or rather, along the... No, in local space, this is the x-axis. X and y. In local space, this is not an axis. This is a combination, because it goes this direction. But it shouldn't be in local space. Let's go ahead and say, right here, if it's a straight road, let's debug.log, and let's just say, real quick, how do I want to phrase this? I want to say something along the lines of straight road, and then plus subhexes i.gameObject.name plus, and then we want to say x position is, and then we'll say equals subhexes I dot transform dot position dot x, and then we'll just leave it at that for right now. And this is not plus, this needs to be, that needs to be a plus, not an equals. And then we'll also do a second line, debug dot log neighbors are plus previous position dot x plus and plus next position dot x. Okay, so now we should have the information we need to figure out what exactly is going on here. So let's find ourselves, like here, for example. This one should be vertical. So what hex is that we're looking at? We are looking at map hex 6. So 3.209981, 3.210016, and 3.210033. So it's just a floating point error. Okay. In that case, let's ditch this equals here. And let's create ourselves a function, public bool approximately equal. And let's do float A, float B, and then float. And what will I cover this? Or what will I call this? This is going to be the value within which the approximate is still going to return true. If the difference between these two is within this float, then it'll return true. So let's have this be called, I don't know, fudge. That'll work. Return false for right now. So if A minus B is less than fudge, return true. And that's all it is. So if the difference between A and B is less than the fudge, and actually we should take the absolute value. So if the absolute value of the difference, math f dot abs, there we go. So if the absolute value of the difference is less than the fudge, then it'll return true. And then up here, let's say, instead of doing this, I'm going to redo the line. If approximately equal previous position dot x subhexes I dot transform dot position dot x, and the fudge here should be what? Well, we've got about 0.01 fudge here. Well, 0.001 realistically. Let's call it 0.005f. So if it's within this, and we'll copy this again, place this here, and instead of doing previous position, we'll do next position. And then we can just delete the previous if statement. And now we'll see if that works. Because I think we were just having a floating point error there. Let's find out. Yeah. Look at that. Yeah. Nice. Okay, our straight roads appear to be working. Fantastic. So we no longer need these debugs. I'm not actually going to delete them. In case we need them back, I'm going to go ahead and... we won't need them back. I'm going to go ahead and delete them. So, our straight roads are now being properly rotated. They can be 0, which is just the default, or if one of these two conditions are correct, they will be at 60 degrees or at 120 degrees. So let's start thinking about our road corners next. How can they be rotated? Well, they can be rotated 6 ways. So for example, if we come in here, we can have the road corner going this way, which is what it is, which is 180 degrees from what it is right now. And how will we determine that? Well, I think if both of the z values are higher, or is that lower? Let's go back into global. This is a lower, or this is an increasing y value. So if this is a decreasing y value here, so if both of these are both of these y values, I mean, it's going to be a z value. This is increasing z, this is decreasing. Ignore this, we're fine. This is increasing z. So if z is higher than our current z on both of them, then we know that we need to be at 180 degrees. Correct? I believe so. Then we know we need to be there, which is, yeah, 180 degrees. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of ifs here. So if previous position dot z is greater than subhexes i.transform.position.z. So if that's true, and as well, if next position .z is greater than subhexes i.transform.position.z. So if both of those are true, then we know our rot needs to be new vector 3, 0, 180, 0. Okay. Now, we know as well that if both of them are down here, it needs to be at 0, but it's there by default, so we don't actually need to do anything about that one. But if they're here, we know it needs to be here. Now, if they're here, that'll be interesting. And yeah, I am just going to kind of go through and hard code all of these. It's going to be a little bit tedious, but it should be fine. So we're going to go ahead and determine the next rotation, which is going to be, well, we've got this one right here. So I think we'll say if the x position is approximately equal to our current one, if one below is, as well as one over here is. So if, well, it can be previous or next position. So like this doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be just previous position. So let's go ahead and say or, and then copy this, not cut, copy it and paste it here, and just invert these signs, because either of these are correct. Right? No, what am I talking about? For this one, we don't need that. For this one, it will be true either way. Oh boy, what am I talking about? I don't even know what I'm doing. Okay, so we have this one done. We have this one done. So we still need this direction, this direction, this direction, and this direction, I think. There should only be what? 1, 2, 3. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Yeah, there should be 6. I don't even know what I'm talking about. You can ignore me. I've kind of just been babbling incoherently for a little bit. Okay, so let's rerun this as it is right now and just do this case by case. So we see that there is a corner here that is incorrect. So let's go ahead and implement this. So when this value, when either value is lower, but the x is increased. So when x is increased, you know what? We could write some functions to somewhat automate this. We definitely could. So, let's go ahead and say, how do I want to do this? I don't know how I want to do this. We could just calculate an angle probably based on the... Or I could just do something completely different. Yeah, so let's go ahead and just say if... Let me just divide this here. There we go. And then let's just have something along the lines of this. And I'm going to go to this gizmo. There we go. So if we're here, we have this taken care of and this taken care of. So let's do this. If our x position is approximately equal, so if approximately equal, And then we want previous position or next position. It doesn't really matter. So if approximately equal previous position dot x subhexes I dot transform dot position dot x, and then we'll have the fudge at 0.005 still. And in fact, we could make that be a default, and I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's go down to this down here, float fudge equals 0.005f. There we go. Okay, so if we are here, so if approximately equal the previous position x or the next position x, so if we're on either of these, yeah, that'll simplify this a bit. Or, I'm going to go ahead and undo this, just because I need a little bit more space here. Or approximately equal... There we go. So we now know if one of the entries or exits to this hex are straight up or straight down. We now know that. And then we need to just determine where our exit is. And it can be any of these 4 hexes. Yeah? So that's fine. So if it's straight up and straight down, we can assume it's one of these 2 hexes. So if it is this hex, and actually, now that I think about it, once we have these 4 cases taken care of, we'll have them all, right? Theoretically, I think. So if our x position, so if previous position dot x is less than our current position dot hex, subhexes I dot transform dot position dot x. Hang on. I forgot my bracket. There we go. And I have one too many brackets. There we go. So, if previous position.x is less than subhexes I.transform.position.x, so we now know we are entering from the top or the bottom, and we're over here. We can then do 2 if statements here. If previous position.z is less than subhexes I.transform.position.z, then we know for a fact that we are here. And if we're here, then we know that we need to be going like this, because we can't be going like this because that would be a sharp corner. So, with that being the case, what direction do we need to be rotated in? Well, this is vector 3, 0. This is 180, so we need to be at, I think, either 60 or negative 60 degrees. 0, 60, 180. Yeah, we need to be at 60 degrees. So, rot equals new vector 3, 0, 60, 0. Like that. And then we can do an else. Yeah, else will be fine here. So, else, we know for a fact that we are at this hex, which means we entered here, which means we need to be at a position of 120, a rotation of 120, that is. So rot equals new vector 3, 0, 120, 0. There we go. Okay, and then we can just copy this, and actually we can just do an else. We know for a fact at this point that we are over on this side, and then we can just copy this and say previous position.z is less than, so we know for a fact we're here, which means we're going out this direction, which means we need to be at 180 plus 60, which means we need to be at, wow, math is not my strong point, 240. There we go. And that should actually be here, 240. else 300. And I think we're good on our regular corners. Unless I've done a math error. So let's let that compile and let's check. Okay. So this one is clearly wrong. As is this one. This one is clearly correct. But I think it's a starting point error. So here we can see for... Oh, come on. I don't want to be in subhexes. I want to be in sub-subhexes. There we go. So here we can clearly see that we are here to here, or here to here, one or the other. It doesn't really matter. And we are at negative 120 degrees. That's an interesting position to be at, or an interesting rotation to be at. Why would we be at negative 120 degrees? 0, 1, or rather 0, 1, 180, 160, 120, 180, 240, 300. Well, what rotation should it be at? It should be at 60. So let's take a quick look here. We know that we're coming in from down here, so we know that we are inside of here. And the position.x is less than, so we should be over here. So we know we're in here. Position.z is greater than, so we know we're here. Less than... I think I might have flipped my sign here. I'm not convinced that that'll fix it, but we'll find out. Let's see. Okay, we're correct here and here. We are obviously incorrect here. And here. Okay, let's just think about this logically for a second here. I'm going to go over here, and I'm just going to quickly go through all of these. So we know that this here is working correctly, here and here. We know that that's fine. So it is clearly this here that is causing an issue. And so our approximately equal check here appears to be correct. So the entries or exits to this hex are straight up or straight down. One thing, this needs to be next position, not previous. That would help. And then these here need to be or, and then copy this. And then this needs to be next position. And then same here for all of these. Copy this. Can't believe I forgot to do this. Oh, it's so easy to forget things. Next position. And then this here, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. And we are going to do next position. And I'm going to change these signs back. I'm not convinced that I changed them incorrectly the first time. We'll know real quick if I need to change them, though. Okay, let's find out. Okay. Yeah. This one over here is wrong. Okay, what's going on here? We are coming in from below and to the right and going out to the top. So, we know we're in here. We are coming in from below and to the right, which would be an X increase, which is down here, and a Z decrease, which is here. So it should be at 240 degrees, but it's at it's at 60 degrees. Am I correct in my angle, though? If it's at 240, yeah, that's correct. So it's just that it is not actually triggering this. It triggered this. Okay. Hi, design document. Good to see you. Okay, so it triggered this rather than this. I think I know why as well. If previous position or next position .x is less than... I mean, it shouldn't, but I think that's why it returned it. Because next position .x, previous position .x, we know one of the hexes are straight up or straight down, but we don't know which one. Anyway, we are very, very close here. We know there is a small issue with the roads or rather with the corners at some angles, like from here to here is consistently wrong, but everywhere else I think is consistently correct. Yeah, from down here to up here. Okay, well it is time to put a cut in, so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode we will fix this one problem with our corner rotations, and then put our sharp rotations in. See you all then.